Hey Guy, and welcome to our history podcast for sleep. Tonight, we're going to tell a story from a very strange perspective. We won't be following a person or an army or even an idea. We are going to listen to the memory of a single piece of stone, a piece of bedrock on a hill in Jerusalem that has witnessed 3,000 years of devotion, destruction, and prayer, and has been sacred to 3 different faiths all at the same time. We are going to feel the weight of history as only a silent, unmoving stone can. But first, a small dose of reality. You, as this stone, will probably not survive. You will be buried under new temples, shattered by the fires of conquering armies, scraped by the tools of builders, and fought over for millennia. The fact that any part of you is still here is perhaps the greatest miracle in this entire story. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like this episode or subscribe to the podcast, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And now, turn on your fan, dim the lights, and get comfortable. Before you have a name, before you are holy, you are simply a fact. You are the limestone bedrock of a lonely hill, your surface warmed by the sun by day and cooled by the desert wind at night. Your sense of time is geological. You feel the slow, patient crawl of the seasons. You feel the rain of winter seeping into your cracks, and the relentless, baking heat of the summer sun. For thousands of years, this is all you know. You feel the roots of small, tough olive trees and thorny shrubs gripping your edges. You feel the scuttling of lizards across your warm surface. You are a silent, unthinking piece of the landscape. Slowly, you become aware of a new presence. Small, upright creatures begin to move across the land. They build a small, fortified settlement on a neighboring hill, a place that is easier to defend than your own exposed summit. This is the small Jebusite city that will one day be called Jerusalem, and it is these creatures who give you your first purpose. This is the mainstream historical fact of your origins. Your hilltop is high, flat, and, most importantly, exposed to the constant breeze that blows from the west. This makes you the perfect location for a threshing floor. After the harvest, the farmers from the settlement below bring their sheaves of wheat and barley up to your flat surface. They spread the stalks across you, and then they lead their oxen in circles, the heavy tread of the animal's hooves breaking the grain from the stalk. Then comes the part that uses the wind, the quirky and ancient magic of threshing. The farmers take large wooden forks and toss the crushed stalks into the air. The wind, your constant companion, catches the light, useless chaff and carries it away like a cloud of golden dust. The heavier, precious kernels of grain fall back down onto your warm, flat surface to be gathered up. For many generations, this is your identity. You are a place of work, of community, of sustenance, a place that separates the wheat from the chaff. You are not yet part of the city. You are just outside it. And archaeologists still debate the exact location and size of that early Jebusite city. Was it just that one small fortified hill to your south? Or did it spread further than the records show? For you, it is simply the place the people come from at the end of every harvest. Your existence is humble but essential. You are a tool, a natural feature co-opted for human use. And in the ancient world, any place so crucial to the survival of a community takes on a sacred quality. Perhaps small offerings are left for the spirit of the wind that so helpfully cleans the grain. Perhaps a prayer of thanks is offered up at the end of a successful threshing. You are a place of work, but you are beginning to be a place of quiet, informal worship as well. Then one day, a new man climbs your hill. You feel his footsteps. He is not a farmer coming to thresh his grain. He moves with a different purpose. He is a warrior, a king, a poet. His name is David. He is the new Israelite king who has recently conquered the Jebusite city and made it his capital. He stands on your surface, not looking down at the grain, but looking up at the sky. He feels the same wind the farmers use. He sees the panoramic view of the hills all around and of his new, small capital city. He is not seeing a threshing floor. He is seeing a high place, a place of potential, a place closer to the heavens. You, the stone, know nothing of this. You know nothing of the great religions or the mighty empires that will rise and fall and fight over you. You know only the sun, the rain, the tread of oxen, and the weight of the grain. But as this poet king stands on your surface, a thoughtful, calculating look in his eye, you feel the first faint stirring of a new and momentous purpose. Your long, quiet life as a simple, communal threshing floor is over. Your long, loud, and complicated history is about to begin. You feel the presence of the poet king, David, as he stands upon your surface, his mind filled with plans you cannot comprehend. He leaves, and for a time, your life continues as it always has. The sun warms you. The wind blows the chaff from the grain. But then, you begin to sense a change in the city below you. It is a feeling of fear, a palpable sorrow that drifts up the hill. The sounds from the city are different, less the bustle of commerce, and more the sound of weeping. A great plague has fallen upon the people. One day, the king returns. He is not alone this time. He is followed by his priests and attendants, their faces grim and determined. He is a man on a holy mission. You also feel the presence of another man, the Jebusite farmer, Araunah, the man whose ancestors have threshed their grain upon you for generations. He comes out to meet the king, bowing low to the ground. You then witness a strange and noble negotiation. David declares his purpose. He has been instructed by a prophet to build an altar to the Lord right here, on your surface, to stop the plague. Araunah, full of fear and reverence, makes a grand offer. He tells the king, "Let my lord the king take and sacrifice whatever he wishes. Here are the oxen for the burnt offering, and here are the threshing sledges and the ox yokes for the wood." He offers you the animals and the tools, all for free, a complete sacrificial package. This is where you witness the quirky and principled heart of the king. He refuses the gift. "No," David says, his voice firm. "I will not sacrifice to the Lord my God burnt offerings that cost me nothing." He insists on paying the full price for the threshing floor and for the oxen. He understands that for a sacrifice to have meaning, it must have a cost. The deal is made. Silver shekels are counted out. You, the simple stone threshing floor, have been purchased for a divine purpose. This story of a plague, an altar, and a specific real estate transaction is the foundational myth of your holiness, and historians and biblical critics still debate its nature. Is this a literal, historical account of how the site was acquired? Or is it a powerful story, an etiology, created later to explain and legitimize why this specific hilltop, a place that once belonged to the non-Israelite Jebusites, was chosen to be the sacred center of the nation's faith? For you, the debate is meaningless. What you feel is real. The oxen are led onto your surface, the place where they once worked, and they are ritually slaughtered. The heavy wooden threshing sledges, their undersides worn smooth from years of sliding over your stone face, are broken apart and piled high. An altar of earth and unhewn stones is built upon you. And then comes the fire. You have felt the gentle, life-giving warmth of the sun for millennia. But this is a new kind of heat. It is a sharp, intense, concentrated fire, the fire of a burnt offering. You feel the heat sear your surface. You feel the blood of the sacrifice and the libation of wine seep into your ancient pores. You are being changed, claimed, consecrated. The smell of roasting meat and holy incense fills the air. The stories say that as the smoke from your new altar rose to the heavens, the plague was stopped. The angel of death sheathed his sword. The city was saved. Your purpose has now been irrevocably transformed. You are no longer just a functional part of the landscape. You have been chosen. You have been purchased. You have been sanctified by fire and sacrifice. You are no longer Araunah's threshing floor. You are now the altar of the God of Israel. You hold your first truly sacred memory. You feel the embers slowly cool upon your surface as night falls, and you wait in the quiet, knowing, with the slow certainty of stone, that this is only the beginning of your long and terrible story. Your time as a simple, open-air altar is short-lived. The poet-king, David, the man who first consecrated you, grows old and dies. His son, Solomon, a young king known for his legendary wisdom and immense wealth, inherits the kingdom. And Solomon has a much grander and more permanent vision for you. He comes to your hilltop not just to offer a sacrifice, but to build a house. You feel the change begin. Surveyors arrive, making careful measurements. Great foundations are dug into the earth all around you. You are no longer the highest point on the hill. You are about to become the very center of its foundation. The plan is to build a permanent, magnificent temple, a single, central sanctuary for the God of Israel, and you are to be its heart. The building begins, and it is a strange and wondrous process. This is a quirky and mysterious detail recorded in the holy books. The great stones for the walls, quarried and perfectly dressed miles away, arrive on heavy carts. But there is no sound of construction as you know it. The Bible says that no hammer, chisel, or any other iron tool was heard at the temple site while it was being built. The great blocks are fitted together in an eerie, reverent silence. It is as if the temple is not being built by human hands, but is assembling itself by a quiet, divine will. Then come the great beams of cedar wood, transported all the way from the forests of Lebanon. You feel their immense weight as they are placed above you, forming the roof of a great chamber. The air, once filled with the smell of wind and rain, is now heavy with the rich, sweet, and holy scent of cedar. This is the mainstream historical fact of your transformation. You are becoming the foundation of the first temple, a structure of legendary beauty and wealth. You feel the presence of immense quantities of gold, hammered into thin sheets to overlay the walls, the altar, and the sacred objects within the rooms being built above and around you. You are no longer a rock on a hill. You are the foundation stone of a divine treasure box. You come to understand your new position in the geography of the sacred. The structure built around you is the Debir, the Holy of Holies. It is the innermost, most sacred chamber of the entire temple. You are the floor of this room, the rock upon which the most sacred object of the nation, the Ark of the Covenant, will one day rest. You have been transformed from a place of public work to the most private and restricted space imaginable. And yet, as you feel the immense weight of this glorious temple rising around you, you are also aware of a deep and perplexing irony that will puzzle future generations. For all its fame, for all its detailed description in the sacred texts, archaeologists and historians will find no direct, conclusive physical evidence for Solomon's temple. The destructions to come will be so absolute that the magnificent structure you now feel being built around you will vanish from the physical record, living on only in Scripture, in faith, and in memory. You are a ghost of stone and gold, a place whose existence is both an absolute certainty and a matter of intense scholarly debate. After 7 years, the construction is complete. You feel the vibrations of a great national celebration. Solomon leads a procession of the entire nation up to your hilltop. You feel the immense weight of the Ark of the Covenant as the priests carry it into the chamber above you and place it in the darkness. You hear the sound of thousands of voices lifted in song, the blast of hundreds of trumpets. The glory of the Lord, they say, has filled the temple like a cloud. Your long journey is complete, or so it seems. You have been elevated from a simple threshing floor to an emergency altar, and now to the foundation stone of the single most sacred spot on earth for your people. You are no longer exposed to the wind and the sun. You are enclosed in a perfect, silent, cedar-scented darkness at the heart of an unimaginable holiness. You rest in the deep, sacred quiet, feeling the very presence of God in the room above, a silent, unmoving witness at the center of the world. For 400 years, you rest in the deep, sacred, and absolute silence of the Holy of Holies. Your existence is a quiet rhythm of ritual. You feel the faint vibrations of the priest's footsteps in the outer courts. You feel the immense holy weight of the Ark of the Covenant in the chamber directly above you, a weight that is both physical and spiritual. Dynasties rise and fall. The kingdom of Israel splits in two. Great kings and corrupt kings rule the city above, but your reality remains one of unchanging, protected sanctity. You are the heart of the world, and the world seems stable. But then, a new feeling begins to travel through the rock. It is the vibration of a new kind of army, a new kind of empire. It is the tramp of the legions of Babylon. You sense the city outside your temple walls coming under siege. You feel the dull, percussive thud of battering rams against the city gates. A new, terrible violence is pressing in. One day, in the final, desperate days of the siege, you feel a frantic, secret activity in the chamber above. The high priest and his most trusted followers enter the Holy of Holies, a room no one is meant to enter. And then you feel it. The immense, sacred weight that has been your constant companion for 4 centuries is lifted. The Ark of the Covenant is being moved. They are taking it away, hiding it from the approaching conquerors in a secret place you cannot know. This is a quirky and mysterious detail that history will never solve. The Ark vanishes from the story, and you, the stone it rested upon, will never feel its presence again. Soon after, you feel a great crash as the city walls are breached. The sounds of battle of screaming and of slaughter, filter down through the thick temple walls. The city is falling. The victorious Babylonian soldiers, speaking a harsh, guttural new language, storm the sacred Temple Mount. They smash their way into the outer courts, their shouts echoing in a place meant only for prayer. And then comes the fire. You do not see it at first. You feel it. A slow, seeping heat that begins to warm the stones around you. The cool, stable darkness of your chamber begins to change. The heat grows and grows until it is a ferocious, unholy intensity. This is the mainstream historical fact of your first great trauma: the destruction of the temple by Nebuchadnezzar's army. You hear the great cedar beams from Lebanon, the ones that have spanned the ceiling high above you for 4 centuries, begin to groan and pop in the inferno. You can smell the cedar turning to smoke, a smell of burning holiness. You sense the tons of gold that line the walls melting, running like golden tears down the stones before vaporizing in the heat. The stones of the temple around you, the very walls that have protected you, begin to expand and crack under the immense thermal stress. The sacred, perfect silence you have known for so long is replaced by the deafening roar and crackle of a world-ending fire. The fire rages for days. The entire temple complex is an inferno. Finally, the great stone roof of the Holy of Holies, weakened by the heat, collapses inward. There is a terrible, grinding crash, and your world of darkness is shattered by a sky filled with fire and black smoke. For the first time in 400 years, you are exposed to the open air. When the flames finally die down, you are left in a new kind of silence. It is not the silence of peace. It is the silence of absolute desolation. You are no longer the foundation of a magnificent temple. You are a ruin, a blackened rock surrounded by a mountain of shattered, scorched rubble. The city around you is a wasteland. The people are gone, either killed in the conquest or rounded up and marched away on the long road to exile in Babylon. The full extent of this devastation is something historians and archaeologists still debate. Was the entire city leveled, every building turned to ash? Or was the destruction focused primarily on you, the temple, and the palaces of the kings? From your perspective, lying buried under the charred remains of your own sacred house, the destruction feels total. You, the stone, have suffered your first death. The house built for you is gone. The people who worshipped here are gone. The holy ark you once supported has vanished. You are once again just a rock on a hill, but you are no longer an innocent threshing floor. You are a tombstone. You are a scar. You lie in the silence of ash and despair, your long memory now holding its first great trauma. You wait buried under the ruins for what feels like an eternity. For 70 years, you lie in a tomb of your own making, buried beneath the charred rubble of the magnificent house that was built for you. The silence is absolute. There are no prayers, no footsteps, no celebrations. There is only the wind blowing dust and ashes across the ruins and the slow, patient cycle of the seasons. The city above you is a wasteland, inhabited by ghosts and memories. You are a foundation stone with nothing to support, a heart with no body. Then, after a lifetime of this desolate quiet, you feel a new vibration. It is not the heavy tramp of a conquering army. It is the tentative, hopeful sound of work. You hear voices again, speaking the familiar language of the Judean hills. You feel the weight on top of you begin to shift as hands begin to clear the debris. Heavy, fire-blackened stones are rolled away. Charred cedar beams are lifted and broken apart. Slowly, painstakingly, the rubble of your own destruction is cleared away from your surface. And then, for the first time in 7 decades, you feel the direct warmth of the sun on your face. You are exposed once more. You are no longer the pristine foundation stone of a glorious temple. You are a survivor, your surface scarred and blackened by the Babylonian fire, a testament to the great trauma your people endured. The men and women clearing the rubble are the children and grandchildren of the exiles. They have been allowed to return home by a new emperor, Cyrus of Persia, and their first priority is to find you, to uncover the sacred ground, and to build again. A new temple begins to rise around you. This is the mainstream historical fact of the great return from exile. The building of the Second Temple. But this construction is very different from the first. There is no eerie, reverent silence. You hear the constant, clangorous sound of hammers and chisels. There are no great, perfectly dressed stones arriving from a distant quarry. The builders use smaller, local stones, whatever they can find and shape. There are no massive, fragrant cedar beams from Lebanon. They use local sycamore and cypress wood. There are no vast quantities of gold to sheathe the walls. This is a temple built on a budget. It is a temple born not of immense wealth and imperial power, but of memory, determination, and a fragile, desperate hope. Because it was so completely and lavishly built over by Herod the Great centuries later, very little of this specific structure remains, and historians and archaeologists still debate the precise layout and structure of this second, humbler temple. But you, the stone at its heart, can feel the difference. The walls are thinner. The main chamber is smaller. It is a shadow of the glorious house Solomon built. It is a statement not of unrivaled power, but of sheer, stubborn survival. Once again, you are enclosed. Once again, you become the foundation of the Holy of Holies, the innermost sanctuary. But the room above you is different now. It is defined by an absence. The Ark of the Covenant, the great object whose presence was the entire reason for the room's existence, is gone forever, lost to history. The new Holy of Holies is just an empty, silent stone room. Its holiness comes not from what it contains, but from the memory of what it once held. When the temple is finally completed, the people gather for its dedication. And you feel a strange and poignant vibration from the crowd. A quirky historical detail recorded in the book of Ezra. You hear a great noise, a sound so mixed and confused it is hard to identify. It is the sound of thousands of people shouting for joy, and thousands of people weeping with sorrow, all at the same time. The younger generation, who never knew the first temple, are cheering wildly. They have a house for their God again. But the old people, the few who were children when they were dragged into exile, the ones who remember the stories of the magnificent Temple of Solomon, are weeping loudly. They are weeping because this new house seems so poor, so humble, so small in comparison to the glory that was lost. It is the sound of hope and disappointment, of joy and grief, all mingling in one great human roar. You are at the center of a sacred house once more. But the silence that returns is a different kind of silence. The first was the silence of a confident, awesome presence. This new silence is one of remembrance, of longing, of a hope tinged with the sadness of a long memory. You rest, the foundation of a humbler, more fragile, and perhaps more human holiness. The humble temple, born of hope and memory, stands for several centuries. The world above you changes hands again. The Persian Empire gives way to the Greek armies of Alexander the Great, and then to the warring dynasties of his successors. And then comes a new power, the most powerful of all, Rome. And Rome places a new king on the throne of Judea. He is a man of immense ambition, terrifying cruelty, and a genius for building. His name is Herod. Herod the Great comes to your temple. He sees the modest structure built by the returning exiles, and he is not impressed. It is too small, too plain for his magnificent vision. He sees himself as a new Solomon, and he decides that he will not just renovate your temple, he will rebuild it on a scale of unimaginable grandeur, turning your entire hilltop into one of the wonders of the ancient world. The work begins around the year 20 BCE. It is the most violent and overwhelming transformation you have ever experienced. It is not a gentle rebuilding, it is a complete terraforming of your very existence. Herod's engineers and thousands of laborers swarm your hill. Their plan is audacious: to create a larger, perfectly flat platform for the new expanded temple. They will effectively build a man-made mountain. You feel the ground shake as they build massive retaining walls around the edges of your hill far below you. These walls are made of colossal, impossibly heavy stones, some weighing hundreds of tons, all cut and placed with a precision that defies belief. The most famous of these walls, the one on the western side, will one day become the holiest site in Judaism. Then comes the part that changes your world forever. Once the retaining walls are in place, the workers begin to fill the vast space between the new walls and the natural slope of your hill. For months, you feel a constant pressure, an immense, growing weight. Millions of tons of earth, rock, and rubble are dumped into the valley, burying the sides of your hill completely. You, the ancient bedrock, the summit, are being encased. You are being buried alive under a new, artificial, perfectly flat mountain top. On this new platform, a new temple rises. This one is a vision of white marble and gold. You sense the creation of vast colonnaded courtyards, of great gates covered in precious metals, of a central sanctuary that gleams so brightly in the sun it is impossible to look at directly. It is a return to the glory of Solomon's temple, and perhaps it even surpasses it. You feel the frantic, obsessive energy of the man driving this project, and you are a silent witness to a question that historians still debate. What was Herod's primary motivation? Was this an act of genuine, pious devotion to the God of his subjects? Was it a savvy political move, a way to win the favor of the Jewish people who were deeply suspicious of his loyalty to Rome and his own questionable ancestry? Or was it, above all, an act of colossal megalomania, the desperate attempt of a paranoid and hated king to build a monument so magnificent that his name would never be forgotten? As you feel the weight of his ambition pressing down on you, you sense that it is a complex and tangled mixture of all three. But even as you are buried deeper and deeper beneath layers of earth and new construction, you know that your position remains absolute. The architects and builders, for all their grand designs, know that there is one spot that cannot be moved. The Holy of Holies of this new, magnificent Herodian temple is constructed directly above you, in the exact same location as it has always been. You are still the heart. You are still the foundation stone. The great project is finished. The city of Jerusalem now has a temple that is the envy of the Roman world. And you are at its center, but you are further from the sky, from the sun and the rain, than you have ever been. You are the foundation of a foundation, a secret held deep inside a man-made mountain. The silence you now experience is deeper, heavier, more profound than ever before. You rest in this new, immense, and richly decorated darkness, a silent witness to a troubled king's desperate and magnificent grasp for immortality. Decades pass in your new, deep, and artificial darkness. The paranoid and brilliant king who rebuilt your world, Herod the Great, is long dead. The land is now ruled directly by a succession of Roman governors. But the life of the great temple above you continues its sacred, rhythmic pulse. You can no longer feel the sun or the rain, but you can feel the life of the city through the immense weight of stone and earth that encases you. Your new consciousness is one of vibration. You feel the daily rhythm of the temple as a deep, subtle tremor in your being. You feel the quiet of the pre-dawn hours, followed by the growing rumble of the morning sacrifices and the chants of the priests. You feel the great, shuffling weight of thousands of pilgrims during the high festivals of Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Their combined footsteps in the vast courtyards above you are a constant, low hum, the sound of a nation's devotion. You can sense the different energies of the various courts. You feel the chaotic, bustling, and sometimes profane vibrations from the outermost court, the court of the Gentiles. This is the mainstream historical fact of your new world. The temple is a place of pilgrimage for people from all over the Roman Empire. This outer court is a noisy, international space, a place where business is conducted and languages from a dozen different lands can be heard. You can sense the presence of the low barrier, the soreg, that separates this outer court from the more sacred inner areas, a quirky and stark reminder of the rules of purity. This fence, with its signs in Greek and Latin, warns all non-Jews that to proceed further is to be responsible for their own death. You also feel the vibrations of commerce. You sense the lowing of oxen and the bleating of sheep and doves, animals waiting to be purchased for sacrifice. You feel the rhythmic clinking of coins from the tables of the money changers. And historians and archaeologists still debate the full extent of this commercial activity. Was it a sprawling, bazaar-like market that filled the courts with noise and greed? Or was it a more limited and controlled series of stalls, a necessary function for a temple that served pilgrims from so far away? For you, buried deep below, it is simply a constant, worldly hum that overlays the deeper thrum of prayer. Then one year, during the Passover festival, amidst the familiar vibrations of thousands of anonymous pilgrims, you feel something new. It is a different kind of footstep walking in the courts above. It is not the heavy, arrogant, hobnailed tread of a Roman soldier. It is not the self-important, measured stride of a high priest. It is a footstep that is both light and firm, humble, and yet possessed of an immense and unsettling authority. You feel this presence over several days. You feel it as he teaches, the vibrations of his voice calming a small section of the chaotic crowd. And then, you feel a sudden, violent shift in the energy of the courtyard. the familiar hum of commerce is shattered. You feel the percussive crash of tables being overturned, the scattering of coins, the panicked cries of animals, and the sound of one clear, authoritative voice cutting through the ensuing chaos like a whip. The young rabbi from Galilee is cleansing his Father's house. You do not know his name. You cannot see his face. You only know the feeling of his presence as he walks upon the stones high above you. And you, the ancient stone, who has felt the tread of kings and priests and conquerors, recognize something new. A power that is not the power of armies or of institutions, but something else entirely. The festival ends. The great crowds disperse. The man from Galilee leaves the city. A tense, uneasy quiet returns to the temple. But you have been changed by the encounter. A new energy, a new possibility, has walked across the floor of your world. You rest in your deep, silent darkness, a silent witness who has now felt the brief, passing footsteps of the one who will, in time, cause the entire world above you to be torn down and remade in his name. You wait, holding the memory of those footsteps. The memory of the Nazarene's footsteps fades, and for a few decades, the life of the great Herodian temple continues its grand and ceaseless rhythm. The vibrations of thousands of pilgrims, the smoke of countless sacrifices, the chants of the priests, these are the familiar pulses of your existence, felt deep within your stone core. But a new tension begins to build in the city above, a growing friction between the people of Judea and their Roman masters. The vibrations change from the shuffle of prayer to the tramp of marching legions and the roar of angry mobs. A great rebellion is brewing. Soon, the full might of the Roman Empire arrives at the city gates. This is a different kind of army from the Babylonians of your distant memory. They are more disciplined, more systematic, more patient, and more ruthless. You feel the ground shake as their great siege engines begin their percussive, relentless assault on the city walls. The siege lasts for months, a slow, agonizing process of starvation and attrition. Finally, you feel the great crash as the outer walls are breached. The fighting moves into the city streets. The vibrations become a chaotic frenzy of battle, of screams, of collapsing buildings. The violence comes closer and closer until it is at the very gates of the temple complex itself. And then, for the second time in your long and sorrowful life, you feel the heat. It begins as a faint warmth, a distant threat, but it grows with terrifying speed into an all-consuming inferno. The magnificent temple of Herod, one of the wonders of the world, is on fire. The chaos above is absolute, and you, the silent stone at the heart of it all, are witness to a moment that historians still debate. What were the intentions of the Roman commander, Titus? Did he order the destruction of the temple, a calculated act of political and psychological warfare designed to crush the heart of the rebellion forever? Or, as the historian Josephus would later claim, did Titus try to save the beautiful structure, only to lose control of his enraged and loot-hungry soldiers, who set the fire against his direct orders? For you, buried deep below, the reason is irrelevant. The result is the same. The fire is absolute. The immense white marble stones of the sanctuary crack and shatter in the intense heat. The great bronze gates melt, and the vast quantities of gold that Herod had used to decorate every surface begin to run like liquid fire, seeping down into the cracks between the foundation stones, a river of molten treasure disappearing into the earth. After the fire has consumed everything that can be burned, a new and even more brutal phase of destruction begins. This is the quirky and greedy tidbit that ensures your temple's utter annihilation. The Roman soldiers, convinced that a fortune in melted gold has flowed between the stones of the foundation, begin to dismantle the temple platform itself. You feel the jarring, violent impact of iron wedges and heavy crowbars being driven into the earth around you. They pry the great stones apart, one by one, a manic search for every last ounce of treasure. The prophecy the Nazarene was said to have made, that not one stone here would be left on another, is being fulfilled with a terrible, pragmatic, and greedy precision by the victorious legionaries. When their work is done, silence returns. It is a silence more profound, more complete than the one you knew after the Babylonian conquest. The glorious house that Herod built is gone. The courtyards are gone. The people are gone. The city is a smoldering ruin. You are buried deeper than ever before, under a new and even more desolate layer of destruction. You are no longer just a ruin. You are the foundation of a ruin, a memory buried beneath an emptiness. You have now felt the fire of two great empires. You have been the heart of two different temples. Both are gone. You rest in the deep, dark, and deathly quiet, a silent stone in a field of ashes, holding the memory of two successive destructions. You settle into another long, dark wait, wondering if anything can ever be built upon such a foundation of sorrow again. You lie in the deep silence of your own ruin. For more than 60 years after the Roman destruction, your hilltop is a desolate place of rubble and ash. The city of Jerusalem is a ghost town, a field of ruins inhabited by the 10th Roman Legion, who have set up their camp amidst the wreckage. You feel the weight of their hobnailed sandals as they patrol the broken stones above you, a constant, grinding reminder of your defeat. Then, after 2 generations of this empty quiet, you feel a new and organized activity begin. The Romans are not just camping here anymore. They are building. The rubble above you is cleared away with a systematic imperial efficiency. New grand foundations are laid. A new city is being built directly on top of the old one. It is to be a Roman colony, and it will be given a new Roman name, Aelia Capitolina. And on your sacred platform, on the very spot where the Holy of Holies once stood, they begin to construct a new temple. This is the mainstream historical fact of your deepest humiliation. The Roman Emperor Hadrian has decided to build a house for his own god here. A magnificent temple dedicated to Jupiter Capitolinus, the king of the Roman pantheon, is rising directly above you. From your place deep within the earth, you feel the weight of this new foreign structure. You sense the placement of massive, perfectly carved marble columns. You feel the weight of a different style of architecture, one that is heavy, imperial, and built for the glory of a human emperor as much as for a god. And you sense, with a deep, silent shudder, the raising of great statues. This is the ultimate desecration. The holy place, whose greatest law was, "You shall have no graven images," is now home to a quirky and terrible new feature. A bronze equestrian statue of the Emperor Hadrian himself, placed proudly on the temple platform. When the construction is finished, a new kind of silence descends. It is not the sacred, waiting silence you knew in Solomon's temple. It is not the desolate, sorrowful silence of the ruin. It is a strange, hollow, and alien silence. You feel no vibrations from the familiar rhythm of Jewish prayer. There are no great, joyful festivals of pilgrimage. Instead, you occasionally sense the formal, solemn processions of a Roman priesthood. You can almost smell the scent of a different kind of incense, and you can feel the faint, muffled echo of prayers being offered in Latin to a pantheon of gods you do not know. The exact design and orientation of Hadrian's Temple of Jupiter is still a subject of scholarly debate. With no definitive ruins left, historians and archaeologists must piece its story together from sparse descriptions and old coins. Was it a massive classical Roman temple, facing the Forum as was traditional? Or was it oriented differently, a deliberate statement on top of the old Jewish foundations? For you, the architectural details do not matter. Its presence is an undeniable, heavy, and crushing reality. Your own holiness feels like it is in a deep sleep. You are dormant, buried, your purpose overwritten, your sanctity ignored. You are still the foundation stone, the heart of the world, but the people on the surface no longer know it. They are praying to a different God, in a different language, with a different heart. You have become the unwilling foundation for a faith that is not your own. For nearly 200 years, you rest in this strange pagan stasis. The mighty Roman Empire, which seemed so eternal and unshakable, itself begins to show signs of age. The vibrations you feel from the city above begin to change once more. The confident tramp of the legions grows less certain. The formal processions to Jupiter's temple become less frequent. You sense the slow decay of this old faith. and at the same time, you begin to feel the growing energy of a new one. It is the faith started by the carpenter from Galilee, the one whose footsteps you felt so briefly, so long ago. This new faith is spreading like a quiet fire through the empire. The temple of Jupiter above you grows silent. It falls into disuse, then into neglect. You have endured another long age, this time as a prisoner in your own home. You have been a silent stone beneath a pagan god. You wait in the quiet, sensing that the long winter of your neglect is coming to an end, that another great change is on the wind, and that another faith is about to claim you for its own. The temple to Jupiter, the symbol of a dying empire, crumbles into ruin above you. For another 3 centuries, you lie in a state of neglect. A new faith, the one born of the Nazarene you felt walk above you so long ago, has conquered the Roman Empire. The city is now a Christian city, but the Christians focus their devotion elsewhere, on the newly built Church of the Holy Sepulchre on the other side of the city. Your hilltop, the great Temple Mount, is left desolate, a garbage heap, a place of sorrowful ruins, just as their scriptures had foretold. You are a forgotten stone in a forgotten place. Then, in the 7th century, you feel a new energy, a new set of footsteps. A new faith, born in the deserts of Arabia, arrives in Jerusalem. Armies of Arab warriors, followers of the Prophet Muhammad, conquer the city. The Christian patriarch peacefully surrenders the city to the Caliph Umar. The new rulers come to your hilltop. They seem to know you are here, that this is a place of immense power and sanctity. With a new sense of reverence, they begin to clear away the centuries of rubble and refuse. The ruins of the Roman temple are removed. The layers of neglect are peeled back. And once again, after an age spent in darkness, you are uncovered. You are exposed to the light of the sun, a great, bare, scarred slab of natural rock at the summit of the hill. Soon, a new and magnificent building begins to rise around you. This is the mainstream historical fact of your 3rd great transformation. The Umayyad Caliph, Abd al-Malik, has commissioned a shrine to be built here, and you are to be its centerpiece. But this is not a temple in the way you have known before. The architects are not building a rectangular house with a hidden inner sanctum. They are building an octagon. This quirky and unique architectural form is designed for one specific purpose: circumambulation. The entire building is a glorious, ornate pathway for pilgrims to walk around you, to gaze upon you from all sides. You are not a foundation to be hidden. You are a jewel to be displayed in a magnificent architectural setting. The original purpose and meaning of this new building, the Dome of the Rock, are still debated by art historians and scholars of religion. Was it built as a triumphant statement, a declaration of Islam's power and its succession to the previous faiths of Judaism and Christianity? Was it designed to compete with the magnificent dome of the nearby Church of the Holy Sepulchre? Or was its primary purpose, as it is understood today, to honor this specific spot as the place from which the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven on his miraculous night journey? As the walls rise around you, you feel all of these intentions at once: triumph, competition, and deep, pious reverence. The building is completed, and it is a space unlike any you have known. You are no longer in a dark, empty, silent room. You are at the center of a space flooded with light and color. The walls and ceilings around you are covered in breathtaking mosaics. But there are no images of humans or animals. Instead, there are intricate, swirling patterns of vines and flowers, images of jewels and crowns, and long, beautiful inscriptions of verses from the Quran, written in elegant Arabic calligraphy. And above you, a great, soaring dome is constructed. It is covered in plates of pure gold, which catch the sun and blaze with a light that can be seen from all over the city. You have become the heart of a new beacon, a new landmark for Jerusalem. You are being venerated again, but in a completely new way. You are no longer hidden, a secret foundation of holiness. You are exposed, the central focus, the very reason for the building's existence. You are the sacred stone of the patriarchs, the foundation of the lost Jewish temples, and now you are also the rock from which the prophet of Islam journeyed to heaven. You, the ancient, silent stone, have been claimed and reconsecrated by a third great Abrahamic faith. You have learned that your destiny is to be a foundation, but the house built upon you is constantly changing. Each faith that comes to you gives you a new name, a new story, a new meaning, layering it on top of all the old ones. You now rest in the quiet, colorful, geometric silence of your new home, an Islamic shrine, waiting for the next chapter in your endless story. For 400 years, you rest at the center of your beautiful octagonal shrine. The rhythms of Islamic life become your new reality. 5 times a day, you feel the gentle vibration of the city turning towards you in prayer. You hear the muezzin's call to prayer echo in the dome above you. You feel the quiet footsteps of pilgrims circling you, marveling at your raw, natural form, the stone from which their prophet ascended to heaven. The city changes hands between different Muslim dynasties, but your life as a sacred Islamic site remains stable and serene. Then, at the very end of the 11th century, you feel a new and terrible vibration on the horizon. A new kind of army is approaching, an army from a continent you have not felt in 1,000 years. They are soldiers from Europe, their chests emblazoned with a red cross. The first crusade has arrived in Jerusalem. You feel the brutal, bloody siege of the city. And then, you feel the fall. The Crusader knights storm the walls and conquer the city with a savage fury, slaughtering thousands of your Muslim and Jewish inhabitants. Soon after, the heavy doors of your shrine are thrown open, and the Frankish knights, their swords still stained with blood, stride into your sacred space. They look at your golden dome, at the magnificent mosaics, at you, the great rock at the center, and they are filled with a fierce and ecstatic joy. They believe they have not just conquered a city, they believe they have liberated the Temple of Solomon itself. This is the great historical misunderstanding that will define the next chapter of your life. This is the mainstream historical fact of the Crusader conquest. They converted the Dome of the Rock into a Christian church, which they called the Templum Domini, the Temple of the Lord. The transformation is immediate and total. This is the quirky and telling tidbit of their takeover. They begin a process of purifying your shrine, of making it Christian. The beautiful Arabic calligraphy proclaiming the oneness of God is covered over or torn out. A great, glittering iron cross is mounted on the very top of your golden dome, a triumphant symbol visible from everywhere in the city. And you, the bare, sacred rock, the focus of the shrine, are deemed too raw, too natural for their form of worship. They encase your surface in smooth, white marble, building a formal altar upon you, surrounded by an ornate iron screen. For the second time in your life, you are hidden from view, your true nature covered over by the rituals and aesthetics of a new faith. As you feel the cold marble encase you, you are at the heart of a question that historians still debate. What was the nature of the Crusaders' understanding? Did they genuinely not know that this was a 7th century Islamic shrine? Or did they, in their religious fervor, so desperately want this to be the Temple of Solomon that they projected that identity onto it, deliberately ignoring the evidence before them? Was it an honest mistake, or a willful act of theological appropriation? A new rhythm of life begins. The sound of the muezzin is replaced by the sound of Gregorian chants sung by Augustinian canons who now serve as your priests. The quiet, individual prostrations of Muslim prayer are replaced by the formal, elaborate ritual of the Catholic Mass, performed at the new marble altar built directly on top of you. You are, once again, a Christian holy place. But it is a very different Christianity from the one you felt during the Byzantine era. This is a militant, feudal, European faith, a faith of knights and kings, a faith of iron and blood. For nearly a century, you are the Templum Domini, one of the most important churches in the new Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem. The Knights Templar, who take their very name from you, established their headquarters in the Al-Aqsa Mosque just next door. You are once again at the center of a great and powerful religious enterprise. You have been conquered and rebranded once more. Your Islamic identity has not just been suppressed, it has been literally covered over with a Christian one. You have learned that human faith is not just a matter of belief, but also a matter of possession. Each religion that claims you feels the need to remake you in its own image, to plaster its own stories and its own aesthetics onto your ancient, silent surface. You wait, encased in cold marble, listening to the new, strange chants in the old, familiar space, feeling the heavy tread of armored knights on the floor above. For 88 years, you are the Templum Domini, the Temple of the Lord. You are encased in cool white marble, the center of a militant Christian faith. The sound of Gregorian chants and the Latin Mass are the rhythms of your life. The Crusader kingdom, with its European knights and kings, feels permanent, as if it will last forever. But in the long memory of stone, nothing is forever. Towards the end of the 12th century, you begin to feel the familiar, terrifying vibrations of another great army approaching the city. The soldiers are different this time. They are united under a new and brilliant leader, a Kurdish sultan named Saladin. He has forged the scattered Muslim states into a single powerful force, and he has come to reclaim Jerusalem. After a short but decisive siege in the year 1187, the city falls. The Crusader kingdom collapses. Saladin's conquest of the city is, by the standards of the age, remarkably humane. He does not slaughter the inhabitants as the Crusaders had done before him. He allows the Christians to ransom their freedom and leave the city peacefully. But for you, another profound transformation is about to begin. You are about to undergo another renovation under new management. Saladin, along with his emirs and imams, enters your shrine. They look with horror and disgust at what has been done to the beautiful Islamic monument. They see the great iron cross that the Crusaders mounted on top of your golden dome. They see the marble altar, the choir screens, and the Christian images that have been painted on the interior walls. A swift and total de-Christianizing of the space begins. You feel the vibrations of workmen climbing onto the roof of the great dome. You feel the strain and hear the grating sound of metal as they tear the huge Crusader cross from its summit. Then, the workers enter your chamber. With heavy hammers and iron chisels, they begin to smash the marble altar that was built directly on top of you. You feel the sharp, percussive blows, the cracking of the stone. After nearly a century of being hidden, of being encased in a Christian identity, your marble prison is being dismantled. For the first time in 88 years, your own raw, true, rocky surface is exposed to the air again. But in the eyes of your new masters, you have been defiled by the touch of unbelievers. You must be purified. And so begins one of the most fragrant and spiritually significant spring cleanings in the city's history. This is the mainstream historical fact of your reconsecration. Saladin orders a great purification ceremony, but he does not use simple water. This is a quirky and beautiful detail of his piety. He has convoys of camels bring immense quantities of precious rose water, all the way from the famed gardens of Damascus. You feel bucket after bucket of this cool, fragrant liquid being poured over your surface. The scent is overwhelming, a sweet floral perfume that fills the entire dome. The walls are washed with rose water. The floors are washed with rose water. You are being cleansed of the memory of the Mass, of the chants, of the knights who knelt before you. You feel the care with which this is done, and it touches on a historical debate. Historians still argue about the degree of destruction during this period. Was this a violent and vengeful desecration of a Christian church? Or was it, as it feels to you, a careful and respectful restoration of an Islamic shrine to its original purpose? The Christian additions are all removed. The beautiful mosaics and Quranic inscriptions that were covered up are revealed and cleaned. The building is returned to its original state as a glorious circumambulatory, a place to honor you, the sacred stone. And then, after all the cleaning and the purifying is done, you hear it. It is a sound that has been absent from your chamber for nearly a century. It is the sound of the muezzin climbing a nearby minaret. And then his voice, clear and powerful, rings out, calling the faithful to prayer. The sound fills the great space under the dome, which once again echoes with the sound of Allahu Akbar. God is great. You have been reclaimed. You have shed your crusader identity and have been returned to the world of Islam. You have learned that human history is a tide. It flows in, leaving its own marks, its own structures, its own beliefs upon you. And then it flows out, and a new tide comes in, washing away the traces of the old and leaving its own imprint. You rest, clean and fragrant with the scent of Damascene roses, listening once more to the familiar peaceful sounds of Muslim prayer. Your life settles into another long, stable rhythm. For centuries, under the rule of the Mamluk, and then the powerful Ottoman empires, you are the revered foundation stone at the heart of the magnificent Dome of the Rock. You are a celebrated site of Islamic pilgrimage, the spot from which the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. The sounds you feel are the soft footsteps of Muslim pilgrims, the scholarly debates of Islamic jurists, and the 5 times daily call to prayer that echoes under your golden dome. This is your reality, your purpose. But slowly, over these centuries, you begin to sense a new focus of attention, a new kind of spiritual energy. It is not directed at you, the summit, the sacred peak. It is directed at your edge. You feel a persistent, quiet, and deeply sorrowful vibration, concentrating on one specific, outer part of the colossal retaining wall that Herod built so long ago to support you. It is the wall on your western flank. You begin to understand what is happening. The descendants of the people who first built a temple around you, the Jewish people, are, for the most part, forbidden by their own religious law and the decrees of the ruling powers from setting foot on your sacred surface. The Temple Mount is, for them, a place of such intense and dangerous holiness, with the location of the Holy of Holies now uncertain, that they cannot ascend. So, they have found the next best thing. They have come to the closest accessible point to where the Holy of Holies once stood. They have come to the outer retaining wall, a place that for centuries was considered nothing more than a functional piece of structural engineering, and they have turned it into a sanctuary. This is the mainstream historical fact of the birth of a new holy site. Your simple retaining wall is becoming the Western Wall. The vibration you feel from this wall is one of profound and perpetual mourning. It is the great prayer of a people who have lost their temple, their sacred center. They press their faces against your ancient Herodian stones, the very same stones you felt being put in place so many centuries ago. They weep for the destruction of your first house, and then your second. Your outer wall becomes known to the world as the Wailing Wall, a place of national grief, and you begin to feel a new, quirky, and tender sensation. It is the gentle but persistent pressure of thousands upon thousands of tiny, folded pieces of paper being pushed into the cracks between your giant stones. This is a new form of prayer, a new way of communicating. Each piece of paper holds a handwritten wish, a desperate plea, a quiet hope, a secret sorrow. They are leaving their messages with you, posting their prayers directly into your ancient stone body. You wonder when, exactly, this shift became absolute. The precise origins of the Western Wall as the primary focus of Jewish pilgrimage are debated by historians. The reverence for the temple site as a whole has always existed, of course. But at what point did this specific, accessible outer wall definitively replace the inaccessible summit as the de facto sacred center for Jewish life? It was not a single event, but a slow, organic evolution over many centuries, a tradition born of necessity, of longing, and of the simple human need for a place to stand and pray. Your existence has now become strangely, profoundly divided. You are one great, single geological entity, one hill, one stone. But you are now experiencing the devotion of two different faiths at the same time. High above you, at your summit, you are the glorious rock of the Prophet's ascension, enshrined in a masterpiece of Islamic art. And simultaneously, at your western edge, you are the sorrowful wall of a lost temple, absorbing the tears and the handwritten notes of the Jewish people. You are no longer the exclusive heart of one faith. You have become a shared boundary, a point of contact, a place of both glory and grief. You feel the quiet footsteps of the Muslim pilgrims walking above you, and you feel the sorrowful rocking of the Jewish worshippers praying at your base. You hold both sets of prayers, both sets of tears, both sets of hopes, in your ancient, silent stone. You have learned that even when you are possessed by one faith, you cannot stop being remembered and longed for by another. You rest in your dual state of being, a quiet witness to the prayers of two faiths. High above, the dome of the rock stands as a glorious Islamic shrine. At your western edge, the wall becomes an ever more important focus of Jewish mourning and hope. The centuries under the quiet, stable, and often neglectful rule of the Ottoman Empire pass like a long, slow afternoon. But in the 20th century, the world above you begins to shake. You feel a new kind of tremor, not from an earthquake, but from the collapse of empires and the roar of a new kind of warfare. You feel the Ottoman rulers depart. You feel the presence of new soldiers, British this time, trying to manage the growing tensions of the city. Then you feel the brutal war of 1948, a conflict that leaves the city divided. A wall is built. Your summit, the Temple Mount, is now under Jordanian control, while your western edge, the wall, is part of the new state of Israel, but inaccessible to its people. You are a holy site, cut in two by a modern border. Then, in June of 1967, a new war erupts, a war of shocking speed and intensity. You feel the vibrations of modern conflict. It is not the distant clash of swords or the thud of a battering ram. It is a new sound, a sharp, mechanical, and terrifyingly loud violence. You feel the rumble of tanks in the streets, the percussive crack of rifle fire, and the ground-shaking boom of explosions. After a fierce battle, you feel a new set of footsteps, a new energy storming your sacred spaces. They are the footsteps of young, battle-weary Israeli soldiers. They fight their way through the old city. They reach your western edge. They ascend to the Temple Mount itself. For the first time in nearly 2,000 years, the entire hill, your whole being, is under Jewish political control. This is the momentous, mainstream historical fact that will define your modern life. You feel the presence of 3 young paratroopers in particular. They are standing before your western wall, having just fought to capture it. They are dusty, tired, and holding their weapons. But they are not looking at the enemy. They are looking up at you, at your ancient, massive Herodian stones. And their faces are filled with a look of pure, unadulterated, almost disbelieving awe. A photographer captures this quirky and candid moment, an image that will become one of the most iconic of the 20th century, the human face of a conflict and the fulfillment of a 2,000-year-old dream. The city is reunified, but the victory immediately creates a new and incredibly delicate set of problems. A new arrangement, known as the status quo, is established to manage your holy sites. And political scientists and conflict resolution experts still debate the immense complexities of this arrangement. The Mount, with the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, will remain under the religious administration of the Islamic Waqf. Jewish prayer will be forbidden on the summit, but permitted at the western wall below. You are now at the very heart of a tense, carefully managed, and constantly challenged geopolitical reality. The atmosphere of your existence changes overnight. The quiet, sorrowful prayers at your western edge are now joined by the sounds of jubilant national celebration, of fierce political arguments, of the chatter of tourists from every corner of the globe. The noise level of your life, both physical and spiritual, has increased exponentially. You, the ancient, silent stone, have been conquered and reclaimed once more. You are now the celebrated centerpiece of a modern nation's history and the explosive focal point of an international political conflict. The old arguments over who you belong to, once whispered in prayer and debated by theologians, are now shouted in the assemblies of nations and used as justification for war. The ancient vibrations of devotion have been overlaid with the new, sharp, and anxious vibrations of modern conflict and nationalism. You absorb it all, the prayers, the politics, the pride, and the pain, and you endure. You wait. You now exist in the loud, anxious, and superheated present. The vibrations you feel are a constant, complex mixture. There is the deep, resonant hum of Jewish prayer from your western edge. There is the clear, echoing call of the Muslim muezzin from your summit. There is the distant peal of Christian church bells from just beyond your walls. And there is the constant, chaotic, secular noise of tourism, of commerce, and of conflict. You are the focal point of a planet's devotions and its arguments. You hold all the memories of your long life within you. You remember the simple feeling of being a sun-warmed threshing floor, the wind separating the wheat from the chaff on your bare surface. You remember the intense, sacred heat of the first fire when David made you an altar. You remember the deep, cedar-scented darkness when Solomon's temple was built around you, and the awesome holy weight of the Ark of the Covenant resting in the chamber above. You remember the second fire, the terrible inferno of the Roman conquest, and the subsequent, lonely silence under the weight of a pagan temple to Jupiter. You remember the feeling of being uncovered and enshrined, the scent of rose water purifying you as the beautiful dome of the rock rose to protect you. You remember the cold marble that encased you when the Crusaders called you the Temple of the Lord, and the sound of their hymns in a language you did not know. You feel all of these stories simultaneously, and you feel the prayers of the three great faiths that claim you. They use different names for the God they are addressing. One calls him Adonai. One calls him Father. One calls him Allah. And philosophers of religion, proponents of the perennial philosophy, still debate whether these are simply different cultural languages for the same, single, transcendent reality, or if they represent fundamentally incompatible truths. For you, the silent stone, the distinction is academic. The prayers all feel the same. They are waves of human longing, of human hope, of human grief, and they wash over you with the same desperate energy. Your power as a symbol has become so intense that you are, for some, overwhelming. You are aware of the quirky and tragic psychological phenomenon known as Jerusalem syndrome, where a visitor to the city can become so consumed by your history and holiness that their mind breaks, and they come to believe they are a prophet, or even the Messiah himself, returned to your sacred ground. You have become a place so saturated with meaning that you can be dangerous to a fragile mind. But after contemplating all the noise, the prayers, the arguments, and the pain, you retreat into the one identity that has never changed, the one identity that underpins all the others. You are a stone. Your native language is silence. Your time scale is geological. You were here long before the first human ever climbed your hill, and you will be here long after the last human civilization has crumbled into dust. You have been a threshing floor, an altar, a foundation, a ruin, a shrine, a church, a tourist site, and a geopolitical flashpoint. You have been given 100 different secret names, but you know that your final purpose is simply to endure. You are the world's silent mirror. You reflect back the hopes, the fears, the devotion, and the violence of the human beings who swarm over you. You are the still point in their turning world. And so, you rest. You let the endless sound of the prayers and the arguments of the world above you fade into a distant, gentle hum. You sink back into your own deep, quiet, geological time. You remember the simple warmth of a prehistoric sun on your bare surface. You remember the feel of the cool winter rain. You remember the weight of the first temple and the scent of its cedar. You remember the heat of the two great fires that destroyed your homes. You remember the sweet, fragrant smell of the rose water that cleansed you. You remember the pressure of 1,000,000 folded prayers tucked into your cracks. All of these memories, all of these layers of devotion and destruction now settle into a single, profound, and peaceful silence. The story for tonight is over. The stone is at rest. And now you can be too.